In this video, we'll talk about what EMI means to different people. There has been in the past a sense that non-native speakers of English, be they teachers or learners, are somehow second best, that native speakers of English have ownership of the language in its best or most correct form. That attitude has changed radically in recent years, thanks to the research of scholars such as Anna Maurinen from the University of Helsinki and Jennifer Jenkins from the University of Southampton, who have promoted research into English as it is actually used now in the world today by its millions of users, only a small percentage of whom are native speakers of the language. English is the world's language, it's lingua franca, in business, trade, technology, travel, popular culture, and most importantly for us on this course, in education, and particularly higher education. For academics, teachers and students all over the world, decisions are made, for one reason or another, to deliver course content, subject matter, through the medium of English. There is no single standard model of EMI, but rather a vast number of possible variations. For example, a university may choose to operate totally in English, with all its support services, administration, library resources and so on, able to operate in English, and thus in an almost totally English-dominant environment. Another university may choose a bilingual or even a trilingual approach in which 2 or 3 languages, one of which is English, are used more or less side by side for teaching and perhaps for administrative purposes too. And in yet another university, a certain number of programmes or modules might be taught in English, whilst the rest of the university operates in the language of the host country. For example, a university in Italy may offer a few programmes in English, but most of its programmes are in Italian. And sometimes an academic finds he or she has to use English in class from time to time because the texts the students need to work with are available only in English and not in their first language. So you as an academic will make your own local decisions as to the extent you use English in your courses, decisions which are appropriate to your own aims and circumstances. Perhaps you can locate yourself on this continuum. Added to which, as well as operating in their home university, teachers and students wish to travel and gain international experience. This need to be mobile requires a shared mode of communication, which for the most part turns out to be English or based on English. And even if teachers and students do not travel physically from one country to another, more and more teaching and learning is happening at a distance, thanks to technology, with varying degrees of separation between teachers and students. An academic may be in one location and the students in several others, or lectures are recorded to be listened to later, or MOOCs or other online courses are created for students to enrol on. Communication may be in real time or asynchronous. In other words, teaching and learning are not necessarily happening with all participants in the same location at the same time. When we think about successful communication, we perhaps first think of the actual words we use when we speak English in a given situation, and these are of course important. These are the building blocks in any language. But our objective goes beyond just words. The clue is in the name, English Medium Instruction. English is the vehicle for instruction through which academic content is conveyed to students. We are not teachers of English, but teachers in English. This is the difference between EMI and CLIL, which is another term you may have heard of. CLIL stands for Content and Language Integrated Learning, and CLIL has 2 functions: to teach both content and a language at the same time. In some universities, the distinction between EMI and CLIL may be blurred, and this is fine, as each institution has its own local practice. But for the purposes of this course, we take EMI in its purest sense to mean the teaching of academic content through English, not the teaching of English, Though naturally, language grows and develops through use and practice, and your students may well acquire more proficiency and confidence in their English language skills through participating in your EMI classes. But your primary aim remains to teach the content of your discipline, be it computer science, business or maritime law, and any growth in English language proficiency is a byproduct, and a very valuable byproduct at that. What we aim to show you in this course then is how English can best be used to get your meaning across to your students. A lecture in English is not simply about choosing the right words and ordering them with grammatical precision, but using all the resources at your disposal to make the meaning you require. This is language in action, and as such, this course aims to show you that you don't need to have native-like knowledge of English in order to be able to lecture and communicate successfully in your chosen field. Now, common sense tells us that we need a basic knowledge of a language in order to begin lecturing through it, but it by no means needs to be perfect knowledge. English is not a barrier. English is a tool, and there are other tools and resources in your repertoire of skills that you can make use of to help you communicate. What you will find as you travel along the EMI path is that your practice will change. You will need to make adjustments to the way you teach and to the structure of your lectures. So you will have to be prepared to adjust your pedagogical approach somewhat and adapt your style and methods in order to take account of the needs of your international audience. As we said before, it's not a question of taking an existing lecture that you used to give in your mother tongue and simply translating it into English. Rather, you have to look at your practice and re-evaluate its suitability for a different kind of audience with different needs.